points deficit to Xavi Artigas, so he needs to take advantage of qualifying at the front of the field. Throughout the course of this race, we're going to be keeping an eye on what Xavi Artigas is able to do from that third row of the grid. He's going to line up down there with the other title contender, Izan Guevara. Guevara, last time around in Aragon, he came from 22nd on the grid to win all 3 races. So for Halloween this year, no doubt, Guevara's dressing up as Superman.
He's dressing up as Superman, and he's looking to scare his other title rivals, that is for sure. It's all about, though, Aragon. We've said already in this broadcast, Steve, it's a totally different track to here. There's a lot more opportunities to slipstream. There's not so many here, if any at all, besides the front straight. So the opportunities, it's going to be difficult. However, we've seen in the other classes, riders can come through from the 2nd, 3rd or 4th, even 5th row of the grid and still be competitive. So this is not done yet, but Pedro Acosta, he's got a big gap to make up, but he's doing it from the right position on the grid. He will start from pole.
We've got 6 riders that are in title contention coming into the final weekend of the season, but really it's all about the 43 of Xavi Artigas and then the 28 of Izan Guevara. They're only separated by 10 points. Everyone else really does need a lot of luck to fall their way to be able to challenge for this championship. The season started in Estoril with Xavi Artigas as the pre-season favourite. He was the rider under pressure. He was the rider that had already had a world championship podium. He did that here in Valencia last year, and he was the rider with the target on his back. He's been able to back that up all the way through the season, but over the course of the last couple of rounds, it really has been the Izan Guevara show. The last 5 races, he's been first across the line each time. He's only picked up 4 wins because he was given a penalty in one of those races as well. But Izan Guevara on the 28 machine, keep an eye out for him. He is certainly the form rider in the class.
120 points taken from 125 available. There are not many who have got that kind of form. The weather here in Spain, down here in Valencia, is gorgeous. It's 31 track temperature, 25 air temperature. It's amazing to be down here in the sunshine. We don't normally come down here with the sun beating down the phenomenal Ricardo Tormo circuit here in Valencia. But we have a race on our hands here. This is the championship standings. Artigas leads Guevara by a slender margin of just 10 points. It's 41 back to Garcia. It's 42 back to Acosta. There's battles all the way down the field.
Yeah, 3 races this weekend in the Moto3 class, so plenty of points on offer. You can see there the riders making sure that they're able to use that long lap penalty. A lot of the time in the Moto3 class in particular, we've seen riders use the siding lap just to get that bit of experience, just in case they are given a penalty during the course of the races. One rider that was given a penalty last time around is this man, the championship leader, Xavi Artigas, on the 43, so he was making sure he was able to quickly use that long lap penalty as well, just to make sure he's up to speed in case he needs it this weekend. Keep an eye on some of the British riders as well. Scott Ogden's qualified inside the top 10 on the number 31 machine. Max Cook has been a regular top 10 runner through the course of this season. He suffered a bad injury at Jerez earlier in the season, but other than that, he really has been able to come on form through the course of this season. But he's going to come from the 6th row of the grid. From the front row of the grid, though, this man, Pedro Acosta, trying to start from pole position. He needs to convert it on the 37. He has been a rider that's really built his form all the way through this season. In the Red Bull Rookies Cup, he won the opening 6 races of the year. So Kiko, he knows how to get the job done.
He knows how to get the job done, and he knows he can do it, and that's the big part of this championship. He's got the form, and he can execute what he wants to do as well.
Yeah, pole sitter Pedro Acosta on the 37. Matsuyama on the 32 is a 5-time Asian Talent Cup race winner. Danny Halgado has won races in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. He starts from the front row of the grid. He's the teammate of title contender Izan Guevara. 18 lap race here for the Moto3 class in Valencia. Acosta's on pole position, and the race gets underway. Acosta is able to make a good start, and as are the other front row starters as well. You can see it looks like Fernandez from the 2nd row of the grid with a really good start on the number 25 machine, and he's up into 4th position there. Izan Guevara trying to get down the inside. He's our championship contender. It looks like he's been able to hold on to top 10 spot. That's one of the Australia Galicia bikes. It looks like it could be Rueda that's gone down into turn 2, though. It looks like Danny Halgado on the 96 has been able to move himself up into 2nd spot. It was Rueda that's gone down.
Disaster for Rueda, just going down at the first turn on the first lap. just not what you need. Pushing his way through there. That's one of the 658 bikes, I think. Oh dear me, we've got drama down here. That's one of the Avintia bikes and another Estrella one.
Looks like it's Diego Moreira, and it could well be Vicente Perez that's gone down there as well. So action on the opening couple of corners of this race, and certainly going to be action all the way through. It was Garcia in 4th position there as well. He had a crash during the course of the warm-up, but he's been able to convert that second row start into 4th position in the early goings. Championship leader Javi Ortegas looks he's up into 7th spot. Further down the order though, Izan Guevara is down in 11th place. So Guevara lost a couple of spots on the opening couple of corners, maybe got himself boxed in a little bit by some of those other incidents, but certainly for Guevara, he's going to have to try and just come through the field now. Keep an eye out for the number 28 just in the middle of this group as well. He's just behind Scott Ogden as well. Ogden on the 31, able to make a good start from the top 10. He's running up inside the top 10 once again.
He is, and he qualified in the top 10 for the first time this season. So British rider Scott Ogden absolutely on a mission, but at the front at the moment he needs to do this, and he's got riders packing out places in between. There's lots of riders in this championship fight who are downfield, but Pedro Acosta is not one of them. He leads across the line. Holgado is second. Matsuyama, really good start from him, held third. He's looking at turn 1 to go second, can't get it done that time though. Jose Julian Garcia is in fourth, and clean the top 5 is David Salvador, ran wide there on the exit of turn 1. Artigas is 6th. We've got riders all over the shop here today. At turn 1, running a little bit wide, but Artigas is 6th. The front 4 got a little bit of a gap, but this is Moto3. We can't read too much into it right now.
Yeah, Javi Ortegas, number 43, is our championship leader. This man, Isaac Guevara, is the form man in the championship, having won all 3 races last time out in Aragon. He's on the number 28 machine. He's trying to close down Ortegas, our 2 title leaders, and the number 28 has been able to make some progress now over the course of the opening laps. He had dropped down to 11th or 12th position, but able to pick off Adrian Fernandez there as well on this lap to be able to move himself up inside those top 10 positions. Looks like he's in about 9th position at this stage, but certainly for Guevara, making pretty steady progress, but he knows he needs to make sure he's able to close right onto the back of the 43 of Ortegas, keep the pressure on his championship rival.
He needs to keep the pressure on his rival, but we've seen him do this before, come through the pack. He's not unfamiliar to this kind of situation. However, Pedro Acosta is now starting to break clear of Holgado. There's someone out the seat there, I think back in 4th or 5th it was Garcia or Salvador. They've both stayed upright either way, but out front Acosta looking good. The number 37 leads the 96 of Holgado, and Japanese rider Takuma Matsuyama, fantastic performance. We've not seen this from him all year. His best finish to date, I believe, I've got it in my notes, is 9th. He could vastly improve on this, and vastly going through on the 38. The number 43 Artigas goes up into 5th place ahead of David Salvador. So Artigas, your championship leader by 10 points ahead of Guevara, making a crucial move.
Yeah, you can see there as well, Garcia was a little bit wide through turn 1, so we've seen plenty of riders already exceeding the track limits on the run through turn 1. Very easy for that to happen. You can carry a little bit too much speed, but race direction are being very vigilant on that as well, so certainly something to keep an eye on all the way through. Guevara here on the 28, he's on the Aspar KTM, and just not quite able to close up that gap on the riders in front of him, because Xavi Ortegas is making quick progress through this field as well. The gap at the front of the field, it was a quarter of a second between Acosta and Holgado, so it is closing up in that lead group. You can see there Danny Holgado on the 96 right there with the race leader, but all of this group is going to be closed right up because Xavi Ortegas is the man on the move. The number 43, really strong here last year in Valencia. He was able to finish on the podium in the Moto3 World Championship, and he was able to finish inside the top 5 in each of the Junior World Championship races last year as well. We came here twice last year, 4 top 5 finishes. This is a track that he goes really well at, and you can see there he's closed right up onto the back of the number 20 of Garcia as well. So Ortegas, our championship leader, doing exactly what he has to do at this stage of the race.
He's doing exactly what he needs to do. It's a long race, it's 16 laps. He doesn't need to make any rash moves too soon. He just needs to keep a cool head, get settled down, bring the heat in the tyres back up to some kind of operating norm. We're still early doors here.
Oh, that's David Salvador that's gone down to the last corner, and looks also like we've got another rider down in the background, and it certainly looks like it could have been a pretty nasty high side in the background. Could be Gerard Roux that's gone down there as well. You can see there for David Salvador though, he's come down very heavily on his back, and he limps away from that crash. Very easily done on that run in the last corner. That's where we saw one of the crashes in this morning's warm-up as well. Xavi Ortigas was involved in that this morning, along with Plonk as well. Looks like red flags are out, so we're going to bring this to a close, and these riders are going to have to get back to pit lane, and then we'll be able to get this race restarted. But certainly that can be a very nasty crash through there. 2 riders down as well, Kiko.
Yeah, I think it was separate incidents. We saw Salvador go first, then Gerard Riou went down, and a total disaster really for especially Salvador, because he was one of those 6 riders who still had a mathematical chance of the title. That is done, so 6 become 5. Good to see Gerard Riou is at least moving, and he's getting his senses and gathering his breath. That was a big crash. He must have high-sided on the way into to be like that. The 67 bike there, the AGR Moto3 KTM wheeled away, and we will have a rerun now of this race, but it doesn't really favour anyone. This is still going to be a lengthy kind of restarted race. It's not going to be a short 4 or 5 lap dash that could really suit anyone. It will be quite a few laps, so it doesn't change too much, but Pedro Acosta holds that pole position.
Yeah, you can see David Salvador able to just take a little bit of refuge there. Keep an eye at the back of this. You're going to see the 2 red bikes have a crash. Massive high side there for Salvador. Goodness. No wonder he was limping away from that one. And then in the background, Gerard Riou. You wouldn't be too surprised if Gerard's had a very similar crash as well. But that's similar to what we saw in this morning session as well. It was Gabin Planck that had a massive crash there as well in the morning warm-up. Came down very heavily on his left wrist. But good to see that Gerard is able to walk away, and as we already saw as well, David Salvador was able to walk away. But both of those riders won't be taking the restarted race. But for everyone else now, it is a case of trying to come back to the pits, get yourself collected, get yourself ready to go back out there again in a few minutes time, whenever we're given a restart time and a restart length for this race as well. Crash in the early stages, a red flag in the early stages of the race generally means that we should have everyone on the same grid positions as original. Usually for these riders, it's then a case of trying to make sure that they're able to assess the damage almost from what happened in the early race as well, because for the likes of Izan Guevara, he has to assess what went wrong, because he made a bad start, was coming through the field, but Xavi Ortigas was a lot faster than him in the early stages of the race. So for Izan Guevara, he now really needs to be able to take those lessons.
Title in this first. I think too much about the points. He hasn't won a race since Jerez, so he's not in the top 5. So close in here.
Will be with an original all in their original spots on that opening. The Australia Galicia ride. The case now trying to make
sure at turn 1 again. Luckily didn't build up too much of a lead.
Yeah, for Pedro Acosta, of course, he's Tigas at the season opener. Raced really well. He's going to be riders stepped up from the Junior World Championship.
Lots of riders. That's just to name a valuable experience, to put a phrase out there, with the likes of
certainly in the MotoGP pad as well, but and 15 seconds to get that bike repaired so that he's able to go out and take his original grid position. That was Rueda's crash down at turn 1 and then down into turn 2. This was where Fusco, you can see there from the Avintia team, and then the number 92 of Diego Moreira came down as well. So the pit lane is now open. All the riders have 60 seconds to get themselves onto the grid for the quick restart, and you can see there the Australia Galicia junior team trying to make sure that they're able to get their work done, but they're going to run out of time very quickly for Diego Moreira bike. But if they're able to get the bike repaired, he's able to at least start from the pit lane as well. But for everyone else, they're trying to make sure that they can get out for this siding lap. They'll go to the grid, they'll be greeted on the grid by one mechanic for a quick check over, and then we're immediately back into the siding lap, and then the race restart as well. And it'll be a 12-lap race, Kiko, so definitely going to be action-packed.
It is. It's going to be action-packed, and it's kind of one of them races. It's not long enough to play tactics, but it's not short enough to go right at it full gas from the start. So
15 seconds
got
left.
that bike out. 15 seconds going down to 10 seconds to go. They have got that bike out. Fair play.
That looks like it was Rueda.
Yeah, that's Rueda. Moreira is still in.
Diego in the pit box, and he's not going to get out in time. Pit lane has now just closed, and you can see for Diego here as well, the screens down in that pit box. Oh, it looks like Rueda hasn't quite managed to get there, missing out by only a couple of seconds. So for the Australia Galicia team, that's going to be a big disappointment for them, but at least he's able to start this race from the pit lane, and we'll see what he's able to do. The good thing for him is that obviously we've got 2 races tomorrow as well. But for Xavi Artigas, that we can see there on the number 43 machine, he's going to come from the 3rd row of the grid, 7th on the grid for our championship leader, Kiko. It's the equal worst for him this season, but he did manage to come through to win from 7th in Estoril, the season opener.
Exactly, you know, he's got form for doing things the hard way. We've seen it across all the classes.